Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Downloaded Content Podcast. If you're new here, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And the best thing to do is go ahead and subscribe to the Downloaded Content newsletter if you haven't done that to get things that are exclusive straight to your inbox. I do apologize. Last week we did not have a podcast because there was a death in the DLC family. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Wade family. But hopefully Dylan and I will be back next week where we're going to be talking about the profound movie, The Life of Chuck. Normally I do say narrator, fictional character, and author, but today I think I'm Minister Crumpton. And spent the weekend off of social media doing a lot of praying and meditating to kind of compile some things that I really want to get off my chest. And before I really start, I want to read a passage from a Buddhist scripture called the Dhammapada. And it's from the section entitled The Wise. It goes like this. If someone sees an intelligent person who is skillfully able to point out shortcomings and give suitable reproof, let him cherish such a revealer of hidden treasures. Only good can come from such an association. Let the wise one guide, correct, and deter others from what is base and vile. He will be treasured by the good and spurned by the evil. So, I had quite a few calls in the past few weeks, but one in particular that I really want to discuss. Out of the blue, someone who I know, have known for a few years, but I haven't spoken to for about two. We text back and forth. They gave me a call. This is a veteran who I respect very much. And immediately when I saw, their name on the caller ID, I knew that something was up. And so I answered the phone and could tell that they were distraught. They were, like so many of us in this country with eyes to see, very heavy. Yeah, I think that's the appropriate word. And what they had to say to me or inquire of me was, one, to see if they were an island, if they were alone in their observations about the things that are going on in this country. And what they relayed to me, again, this is a veteran who still works within military channels or government channels. So what they were distraught about was the fact that people around them that for years he had called brother or sister in a common mission of defending and upholding the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. He had been witnessing them en masse, agreeing with, facilitating, participating, and generally thinking that it was a good idea to do some of the things that we're seeing in the news, such as, the harassment of the Hispanic community, deportations, concentration camps, things of that nature. It was really weighing heavy on him that his brothers and sisters in arms or people who he worked with within government were advocating for a lot of the things that so much of us are concerned with in this country right now. And he felt like he was losing his mind. Like, is he the only one who can see in his peer group that what we're seeing come down from the commander-in-chief of this great free country, that these things are not only a violation of the supreme law of the land, but they're evil. And I sat with him for a good long while in that heaviness, in that uncomfortable space when you are surrounded by people who are adamant about doing the wrong thing, convinced that they're doing the right thing. Because it's very crazy making, when you're in the right and everyone around you is clearly in the wrong. And so he reached out to me, and it made me feel good to a degree, because he said that though admittedly he had sworn an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, he had admittedly not read it as much as, say, someone like myself. And that if there was anybody who he knew who'd ever handed him a pocket Constitution that truly was what he would consider a patriot, it was me. So I was honored that, after such a long period of not actually speaking to this person, that when they're seeing all this treasonous activity around them happen, that they thought of me. Call and see what Daniel thinks. That was very moving. And in this conversation, I let him know, no, you're not crazy. It is something that is quite bewildering. And even the phrase that he used was, it seems like everyone is under a spell. And I agree. I think that as a minister and as someone who has quite the affinity for the King James Bible and the prophecies therein, that is exactly what is going on in our nation, that people are under a spell. They're under a hypnotic trance. And as the Bible does say, during the end times, that if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. There would be delusion put over the eyes of the majority, to where, they couldn't see the handwriting on the wall if their nose was against the wall. And I relayed to him that I understood that I wake up every day in this country and am brokenhearted at what I see going on around me. And the justifications for the wrongdoing that are being put out there, that are just so shallow. In my conversation with him, I relayed to him, I said, listen, I don't know what your spiritual background is, but it really doesn't matter, because every spiritual faith talks about a time period where everything's going to collapse, everything's going to come down, the end days, the end times, whatever you want to call it. I have my particular interpretations of prophecies, and you can have yours, and that's fine. But most people agree that there is a period where it all comes crashing down. And I said, it's my belief that that's where we're at, that we're in those days. We're in the last of the last days, where all of the things that you hear about or read about in the book of the Revelation are coming to fruition. And now it doesn't seem so far-fetched that these things can happen and can transpire. And so I said, it's not everybody can see it, and not everybody would agree with me on that, but I'm convinced that we are. And since we are, we each individually have to decide who we are during these times. We have to decide if we are going to be spectators of this great evil and watch, keep going to work, clocking in, doing, the normal everyday things while the world burns and our neighbors and our friends are being black bagged and put in the back of vans and taken to Alligator Alcatraz or God knows where. We're either just going to go along to get along while these things are happening to everybody around us, and then eventually us ourselves, or we have to decide if we're going to participate in all of this great evil. Or we have to make the decision if we're going to speak out about it, do something about it. But each one of us has to decide who we are during these times. And that's, I gave him a few references to go and look up scripturally to see where we're at on the timeline. And told him, unequivocally, as I have said to anybody who would listen to me, that my belief is that the creature that a good majority of Americans put into the highest place of power, if he is not the Antichrist, he is certainly an Antichrist. He's certainly gonna, if he were auditioning for the part of the beast or the little horn, he's given it his all. Let me just put it to you that way. And I know that I'm not alone. There are a lot of people in my community and in spiritual circles who share the belief that he may very well be that wicked one that we have all been warned about, that was coming onto the scene. And by the looks of it, like I said, I'm almost absolutely 100% convinced that it's him at the top of the American food chain, at the top of the hierarchy, if you were. And that can be scary. And it makes sense to me why everything that we see happening from his seat of power is to denigrate, degrade, whittle away, diminish the Bill of Rights and the Constitution.
This little morsel was carved from a much larger presentation, lovingly curated for your incredible reduction into ADHD. For full context, sit your ass down and actually listen to the whole presentation. Until then, shut your pie hole and carry your butt hurt elsewhere. When you've recovered, subscribe to downloadedcontent.com, follow the Downloaded Content YouTube channel, and for God's sake, hit the damn bell so you don't miss the next existential crisis disguised as a podcast.